Hi, this is Thomas with Believe in the Run.
This is Meaghan with Believe in the Run.
And this is the Nike Vaporfly 4.
Yes, very exciting. Everyone gets juiced up about a Nike race day shoe.
What do you mean by juiced up?
Excited?
Yes, this shoe gets people excited, and for good reason. This Vaporfly was the first shoe to kind of like make everybody go, oh, shoes do matter.
Yeah, it was our introduction to carbon-plated racing shoes, and it kind of changed race day start lines forever.
It did. People were chasing this shoe for a long time, and I'm like, how can they do anything to make it better? And I've got good news. I personally feel like they have done something to make it better, and they have done things to innovate with this shoe. Is everything that they've done good? We'll get into that.
Yeah, the whole goal of this shoe and this model was to make it as light as possible. So they wanted to trim down any areas of the upper, any areas of the midsole, any areas of the outsole to get a super light shoe.
I feel like this is where normally everybody's chasing Nike for race day, and this might be where Nike saw what Adidas did with the Evo Pro, and they're like, okay, this is the next frontier. It's the cushion, the weight, and getting it down as light as possible.
Yeah, so Vaporfly uppers for me in the past have always been okay, not great. There's always been like some gaping around the collar and heel, and it's just never been a perfect fit, but because the midsole was so great, it's kind of just like you got used to it.
I've always felt like they saved weight on the upper by making it more minimal, but at the same time, that always made it a little less, structured. So You're always going to have, issues with the fit. It's always had an ugly ankle collar and heel counter situation going on. If you ever seen somebody walking them, it almost like does like a gear with it. I don't know if you noticed that.
No, but so the good news is the upper has been updated, and while it's still very, very minimal, they've added little pieces of padding in just the right places where it feels, I think, exponentially better than version 3.
And they've also gotten rid of the offset lacing, moved it down to more traditional straight down the throat style lacing. So the thing that I didn't like about this upper is I still get some weird heel lift in this shoe, and I still get that gaping around the ankle, but it was most noticeable just a little bit of give on that heel.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. I will say the first thing I noticed in terms of the comfort was when I laced up these shoes. Thomas mentioned it's not offset anymore, but the tongue on the last version didn't have any padding whatsoever, and this has just enough that when you lace it up, you can really cinch the laces tightly, and you don't feel that pain or pressure on the top of your foot. And then also they've added this padding in the heel, which, like you were saying, it doesn't completely fix the heel slippage issues, but I feel like it was much improved from the last version.
Well, that's kind of where I disagree with you a little bit. I felt like I got a better lockdown on the last version than this one. But I think some of that comes from the new shape of the plate and some of the rigidity that's coming through the midsole that's causing a little bit of that lift. So while I'm getting that lift, I also felt like this one feels more propulsive than the previous version, which could be some two things that are doing, working against each other.
Yeah, so let's talk about the midsole and the updates here, because on paper, I'm not going to lie, I was pretty nervous that I was going to hate this shoe when I heard they were removing stack.
They were getting rid of stack, but the other thing was when I pulled out of the box, the ZoomX foam didn't feel that. Like it felt like it was going to be firm before I put it on my foot. I was a little nervous that it's like, is this going to be a nice shoe to run in? Because they're cutting weight, they're cutting the total stack. I'm like, maybe this is going to be where you really feel that difference between the Alpha Fly and the Vaporfly.
Yeah, so originally this was a 40 millimeter stack in the heel, and now we're down to 35.
35.
And a 6 millimeter drop versus an 8 millimeter drop in the previous version. I'm not gonna lie, I can't really feel that. I don't feel a huge difference in stack height, and I definitely don't feel any lack of propulsion or anything underfoot.
It kind of surprised me because if anybody knows from Meg's reviews, cushion is paramount. That's your top concern. And you're telling me in this shoe you didn't feel that?
I didn't. For whatever reason, I don't know if it's that the ZoomX is fresh and lively right now, and so I'm feeling that, and I'm not missing the 4 millimeters or what. But I really liked the underfoot feel.
Since the Vaporfly 2, I've been like, they're kind of going to a firmer direction with the ZoomX and the Vaporfly. So I thought this one was going to be firm again, and this one I felt like has lots of give in it. It felt great. I did a 20-mile run in it, and when I was done with the run, it wasn't like I was like, get these off my feet. I was like, oh, my feet feel great. These feel good. Initially, my first step out the door, I was like, wow, I can feel the bounce under the forefoot. This really has that sensation that I'm looking for in a race day shoe, where you get that mechanical feel of loading that plate and coming off of it and feeling the plate working with you. But not only that, the bounce coming out of the forefoot is tremendous.
If you look from toe down, the previous version, you could actually see some of the midsole more on the back and also on the side of the shoe coming out, which I was a little worried that it would be very unstable just because of how little you have underfoot here. But maybe with that removal of some of the stack height, that kind of evened out any sort of stability issues, because I actually found that running easy in this shoe wasn't that bad.
Do you think that maybe that's why the stack was reduced? Yes, to save some weight, but two, to make it more stable with less foam.
Yeah, I think that could definitely be part of it. And then the other place where they removed some of that weight is from the outsole here. So you still have plenty of rubber coverage all through the forefoot, but there's just a little bit less of it. It's a little less thick.
So they re-engineered the plate as well. It's a little more aggressive. It's got more of a slope to it. And you'll notice from like just looking at the shoe, where it comes under, it's a little further, I think, away from the foot. And you're getting that sensation again where the foam is soft under the forefoot and then it loads the plate. I think for a while people were moving the plate closer to the foot to try to get you to be able to leverage the plate a little bit more. But I think everybody's starting to lean towards dip the plate down, give it some toe spring, and let the foot get some cushion, and then load the plate and come through. And that's the sensation I really liked in the shoe. Meg talked about going at easier paces and it didn't feel bad. When I did my 20-mile run, I started off very easy, very light, almost like a warm-up style run, and then kind of progressed through the 20 miles at a little quicker pace, but nothing that was even close to race pace, and it still felt great. I also did some speed work in it and some striders in it, and it really comes alive. I think this is one of those shoes that you're going to have a little more democracy with pace in this. Now, the thing where it's going to get a little shaky for people is it isn't the most stable.
I mean, we're talking for my women's 7.5, it's just under 5 ounces. So it's just like not a lot of shoe. And I really didn't think I was going to like it as much as I did. And you were talking about how this foam feels firm, and it does feel really firm in your hand. I don't know what happens when you're out running, but it just comes to life.
It bounces.
It's like the ZoomX is magical. I'm not sure how to explain it, but it just feels really good underfoot. And I mentioned that I found it fine to run easy days in this. However, my paces were 30 seconds to a minute faster just because.
But easy effort.
Yes.
Yeah. So mine comes in at 6.4 ounces or 185 grams, which is insane. Like the other shoe that's as light as this would be the Evo Pro, which for my size 10.5 weighed around closer to high fives. So there's really not that much difference between these two shoes. That one costs $500. This one, what's it retail for, Meg?
This one's gonna be $260.
$260. So it's up a little bit depending on.
But if you think about it, this shoe debuted at $258 years ago. That's only a $10 price increase over that long time. I mean, that feels pretty fair.
This shoe, if you wanted to wear a Nike shoe that's fast for race day and you maybe aren't the fastest runner, this one's still going to provide comfort and feel great over the 26 miles.
While I do think this works for 26.2, my personal preference is still going to be with the Alphafly. I would choose this for a half all day long and the Alphafly for the full marathon.
Did you wear the Alphafly after you wore this?
I have not yet.
See, that was the thing. I felt like this felt so good. Yeah, I could go with the Alphafly, but it would be 2 more ounces for me. And this one felt really good. I'm like, maybe I would go with this over the Alphafly for the marathon.
Yeah, there's some about a fresh slab of ZoomX that's hard to turn away.
See, and that's another weird thing. I've had ZoomX in other Nike shoes and been like, it's okay. So that was kind of the thing when we got it and we pulled it out of the box and I felt it in my hand. I was like, I'm a little worried. But once I got it on the foot, this formulation of ZoomX, this thing just sings.
So let's get into the form, fit, and function.
All right. Well, form includes weight. So we were going to knock it a little bit lower because of the heel lift and just
because of this
colorway.
What is this?
Don't be sending Meaghan this colorway.
This is terrible.
Yeah. I think what they're trying to do though is if you look at it, like you cut off this part of the shoe that it looks like just like a spike.
This is just not for me. The Proto looks great.
So you're docking at points because of this color.
Color, and I do think some people might struggle with a little bit of stability here. I mean, it's not a very wide platform. It's a very nimble shoe. So some of those.
I'm giving it a 4. It might have been a 3 if it didn't weigh. It's like
nothing.
It weighs nothing. So it definitely, it's
redeemed itself.
Hitting that 4 for me.
Okay, fit.
So I'm gonna have to dock it. You got that heel lift. So I don't know. I think I'll go 3 on fit. You're making a sacrifice for weight. I get it. So you're gonna have to give up some structure. But yeah, I give it a 3.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with a 3 as well. I do think some people are gonna complain about some heel slippage and just not a perfect dialed in fit. So we'll knock it a little bit for that. And then function.
5.
Yeah, I'm giving this one a 5. They wanted to make this a super light, fast shoe, and that's exactly what we got.
Yeah, this thing is fantastic. It feels great on the foot. I'm struggling to think of another shoe that's this light, has this kind of bounce, and feels good at the variable paces that this one does. This one feels good warming up, and it feels good throwing down the effort.
Yeah, the only thing I'm unsure of is how long this shoe is going to last. I think I have about 35 miles on it right now. Obviously, the ZoomX feels great, but we'll see over time if it sort of loses that fun bounce.
Well, what are you looking for as far as mileage out of a shoe that originally they were like 1 to 2 marathons and done?
Yeah, but my Alphaflys I can get 400 miles out of.
Would you race in a pair that has 300?
No, but then they go from race day to training day.
Well, yeah, but I could wear this for training. Okay, never mind. We could argue about this all day. All right, Meg, so what's that put the final score for the Vaporfly 4?
We're going to go 12 out of 15.
That was easy because our scores matched up.
Yeah, pretty good. All right, that's it.
You don't want people to subscribe or nothing?
Yeah, if you haven't yet, definitely go subscribe to this channel, like this video. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook. We've got a Strava club. Obviously, all of our reviews are also in written form online on believeintherun.com. And from there, you can subscribe to our newsletter, which goes out every Friday.
I think you nailed it.
Podcast.
Yeah, did you nail the podcast?
And we have 2 podcasts.
Yeah.
The Drop and Fuel for the Soul.
Apparently, people get all juiced about them.